The reason most burnout recovery advice doesn't work is because it skips this crucial step. Most of the generic advice you see online targets the symptoms without identifying and fixing the root causes first. What you need to know is why it's happening in order to fix it. Burnout isn't a personal failure. It's not a lack of discipline, grit, or willpower. It's the effect of misalignment, a structural mismatch between the life you're living and your actual needs. And this has been building up for much longer than you realize. Today I'm going to explain why your system broke down and what was actually driving it. I've organized these into 3 buckets, and you will likely resonate with more than one of these. These buckets are external causes, the people and environment around you; internal causes, your personality traits and habits; and existential causes, your identity and values. Burnout is a lot more complex than working too much. This is what makes it so hard to recover from. Let's start with the external causes. These are the structural conditions you're working inside, and they may be harder for you to change. They matter because no amount of mindset work or optimized morning routines is going to fix a broken system. So you need to be able to recognize these first. Lack of control. There are decades of occupational health and psychology research showing that lack of control decreases workplace satisfaction and increases burnout. When you have no say in when or how you do your job, it generates psychological stress. Of course it does. Your body is sat in fight or flight mode. You're reactive from the moment you start, and your time doesn't feel like your own. If you can't predict when or where your next piece of work is going to come from, then your body is going to stay in this high alert state. And there is a short amount of time that your body can survive like this for. And if you're feeling burnt out, chances are your body has already exceeded it. The multi-front avalanche. Women experience higher rates of burnouts than men, predominantly due to the amount of invisible labor we're expected to take on. And the demands aren't coming from one place. They're coming from managing the home, supporting colleagues, looking after children, checking in with parents, and being a kind and supportive friend. Putting everyone else's needs ahead of our own. On average, women perform 2 to 3 hours more unpaid invisible labor than men each day, and carry a much heavier mental load. No wonder we're exhausted. The system we operate in was not set up for this level of responsibility. The 9 to 5 was created to get the man out of the home to earn an income, whilst the woman fulfilled all the caretaking and household responsibilities. But in this modern age, where most households are dual income homes, we're trying to balance too much, and something breaks under that pressure, which may be you. Isolation. Feeling lonely or isolated can also lead to burnout. You can be surrounded by colleagues, friends, or a full social calendar and still feel alone. I think part of the reason for this is due to the mechanism of how we release stress. Humans are social beings, and we co-regulate with each other. This means we can release stress through safe and meaningful connection. But if you don't have these connections, or your relationships feel transactional, then your nervous system cannot process the stress it's carrying. And this stress accumulates in your body until you can't carry it any longer. No boundaries. Modern life has made us so much more accessible than we've ever been before. Working from home means we can be online and available very quickly, and our attention can be grabbed by an urgent Slack or Teams message, a text, or an email. The issue is we're more distracted than ever. We weren't designed to be constantly chopping and changing tasks. And because of this distracting, noisy environment, it's more important than ever that we're able to enforce our own boundaries and not follow everyone else's requests. This is where we cross into internal causes, because certain types of people are more likely to struggle with this than others. The people pleasers who are afraid of disappointing others. Those climbing the ladder trying to prove that they're reliable. The individuals afraid of conflict who can't say no, or those that haven't learnt this skill yet. And I say this with complete compassion and without blame, because I was all of those. Over time, this leads you to becoming more stressed, overcommitted, overworked, and resentful. I know because I've lived it. Bucket 2. Internal causes. The next one I want to cover is cognitive overload. The mental noise, the planning, the reviewing, the anticipating, and the deciding. This is what allows you to function at the high level you do. And this runs constantly. Your brain doesn't have an off switch, and you've probably trained yourself not to need one. Couple this with anxiety, overthinking, and second guessing yourself, and your brain is maxed out. By the end of the day, even small choices feel like an enormous effort because your prefrontal cortex has been working without a break for hours. The high achiever trap. If you were top of your class at school, went to a good university, and landed a good job, you might resonate with this. Your self-worth is tied to your productivity, your achievements, and your ability to stay on top of things. You struggle to slow down because slowing down doesn't feel like recovery. It feels like failure, wasted time. So you push through, past the exhaustion and past the signals your body is sending. Because stopping would mean confronting the fact that you don't actually know who you are when you're not performing. So you burn out because you don't know how to stop, which ironically forces you to stop because your body can't keep up. Chronic unreleased stress. This one is a biological mechanism that we're not often taught. Stress is a physiological response, not just a mental state. Stress lives in the body, so when you experience a stressful event, your body reacts by elevating your heart rate and pumping hormones around your body so you can react. The thing that switches off that mechanism is moving your body to get out of the threat's way. But in modern life, the stressor could be a difficult meeting, a short deadline, or an uncomfortable conversation. You may respond to that stressor, but until you've moved your body to let it know, it will still be stuck in that stress response. And then the stress cycle doesn't complete. 3. Existential causes. The final bucket is a much bigger question and it could take a lot longer to figure out. You could have a perfectly organized life and still burn out from this one layer alone. These are the invisible drains running in the background of everything you do. Living in the shoulds, when your decisions are driven by external expectations. What looks good, what you're supposed to want, and what society dictates your life should look like. You can be incredibly successful and yet completely misaligned with what you actually want. And the external validation only takes you so far because there's no sense of internal pride to back this up. You think to yourself, I should be happy with this. I should want this promotion. I should feel grateful. If you're living a life built around shoulds instead of your wants, you may feel an inner tension between what your brain decides and your heart actually wants. Loss of meaning. Research on burnout consistently points to this as a key driver. This isn't the absence of achievement, but the loss of connection to why you're doing what you're actually doing. Humans can sustain an enormous amount of pressure if the work they're doing feels meaningful, or if they feel like it's making a difference. But when it doesn't, that same workload feels crushing. There's no psychological return on your time investment or effort. And this can change over time. What may have given you meaning now may not. Our interests and desires change. It's only expected that this will too. And the final one is misalignment. This, in my view, is the single most underrated cause, and it's the one that's hardest to figure out, especially if you're in the middle of burnout. Your life is fine on paper, your job is good, and you're doing well by most people's measures, but you feel tired, empty, and unfulfilled. There's a flatness to your life, a sense of going through the motions but not connecting to it. Your career doesn't match your values, your lifestyle doesn't match what you actually enjoy, and your goals aren't what you truly want. This is misalignment. So these are the core drivers, and it's usually a combination of these building up over time that lead to the burnouts you're experiencing. Hopefully you can see that fixing these isn't about resting more. It's reevaluating how your life is set up, changing how you handle stress, and building something that is true to you. I know this can feel overwhelming, so I'll walk you through what I did step by step in this next video. If you feel lost or stuck or frozen, you will get there. Just take it slow and keep moving forwards.